One call at 7:13 p.m. shattered Jake's world. After 10 years of silence, his ex-wife Julia dropped a bombshell. "Our son knows the truth and wants to meet you." But she'd sworn the boy wasn't his. A mysterious photo arrives, forcing Jake to face a decade-old lie and a secret that could destroy everything. Will he uncover the truth before it's too late? The phone buzzed on the counter, cutting through the sizzle of burgers on Jake's backyard grill. It was 7:13 p.m., a Thursday in Austin, Texas, and Jake, a 38-year-old high school soccer coach, was hosting his team for their weekly barbecue. Laughter from the kids filled the air as they tossed a frisbee, their energy a welcome distraction from the quiet life Jake had built. He wiped his hands on a towel, glanced at the screen, and froze. The number wasn't saved, but the area code was Dallas, where Julia lived. His ex-wife. 10 years since she'd walked out, and not a single call until now. He stepped away from the grill, signaling to his assistant coach, Mike, to take over. "Keep the kids fed," he muttered, his voice tighter than he meant. Mike nodded, flipping a patty. Jake walked to the edge of the yard, where the noise of the team faded, and answered. "Hello. Jake, it's Julia." Her voice was sharp, no pleasantries, like she was reading from script. "Ethan knows the truth. He wants to meet you." The words hit like a missed penalty kick, sudden and jarring. Ethan, the son Julia swore wasn't his, the boy she'd taken away a decade ago when she left, claiming another man was the father. Jake's grip on the phone tightened. "What do you mean, he knows?" His throat felt like sandpaper. "He's been digging," Julia said. "Found your name online. Saw a picture of you coaching. He's 14 now, Jake. He's not a kid who takes no for an answer. We need to talk. In person." Jake's pulse hammered. He stared at the grill, smoke curling into the dusk, the burgers charring as Mike scrambled to save them. "You told me he wasn't mine," he said, each word deliberate. "You made that clear when you packed your bags and left." "I know what I said." Julia's voice cracked, just for a second. "But things have changed. Can you meet tomorrow? I'll come to Austin." He wanted to hang up, to throw the phone into the grass and pretend this wasn't happening. But the name, Ethan, stuck in his chest like a splinter. "Fine," he said. "The diner on Lamar Boulevard. Noon." He ended the call before she could respond. The rest of the barbecue passed in a blur. Jake flipped burgers, joked with the kids, even refereed an impromptu soccer match in the yard. But his mind was elsewhere, replaying Julia's words, her betrayal, the night she'd left him with nothing but a suitcase and a lie. "He's not yours, Jake," she'd said, slamming the car door. He never was. He believed her, or tried to, because the alternative, fighting for a kid who might not be his, was too much to bear. Her lawyer had made sure he stayed away, papers signed, contact forbidden. 10 years of silence had followed, and Jake had rebuilt himself, piece by piece, through coaching, through giving kids like his players a chance to shine. Sleep didn't come that night. He lay on the couch, staring at the ceiling, the hum of the fridge the only sound in his small apartment. Ethan knows. What did that even mean? Had Julia lied? Had she told Ethan something new? The questions spun, relentless, until the first light of dawn crept through the blinds. By 7 a.m., Jake was at his P.O. box, a habit from years of hoping for something. Anything from Julia. Bills, junk mail, nothing else. Until today, tucked between a utility bill and a flyer was an envelope, plain, no return address, just his name in sharp black ink. He tore it open. Inside was a single photo, a teenage boy, lanky, with green eyes and a crooked half-smile that stopped Jake cold. It was like looking at a younger version of himself, the kid he'd been before life got complicated. On the back, in the same black ink, "He's yours." Jake's knees buckled. He leaned against the wall of the post office, the photo trembling in his hand. The resemblance wasn't just to him. There was something else. Matt, his cousin, dead for over a decade in a car crash. The cheekbones, the way the boy's jaw set. Jake's stomach churned. He stuffed the photo in his pocket and drove to the diner, his mind racing faster than the traffic on I-35. The diner was packed, waitresses weaving through tables, the clatter of plates and chatter of locals filling the space. Jake spotted Julia in a corner booth, nursing a black coffee. She looked tired, her posture slumped, but she straightened when she saw him. He slid into the seat across from her, the photo burning a hole in his pocket. "Start talking," he said, voice low. She didn't meet his eyes at first. "I didn't want it to come to this," she said, fingers tracing the rim of her mug. "But Ethan's been asking questions." He's smart, Jake. He found an old article about you, some local hero piece from your coaching days. Then he found other things. Like what? Jake leaned forward, his patience thinning. She reached in her purse and slid an envelope across the table. Read this. It's everything. Jake opened it, pulling out a single-type page. The first line hit harder than the phone call. Ethan is yours, Jake. But there's more you need to know. His eyes scanned the next sentence, and the world tilted. I was with Matt before you. It was a mistake, a fling, and I didn't know I was pregnant when we got married. Jake's hand shook. Matt, his cousin, the one who'd always been reckless, charming, gone too soon in a wreck at 27. Julia had only met him a few times, or so Jake thought. You're saying Ethan might be his? He asked, voice barely above a whisper. Julia nodded, eyes glistening. I didn't know for sure until after he was born. I wanted it to be you, Jake. I tried to believe it. But Matt, he knew. He begged me not to tell you. Said it would ruin you. Jake pushed the letter away, his chest tight. So you lied. You let me think Ethan wasn't mine. You made me sign him away. I was scared, she said, voice breaking. Matt was gone. You were all I had. I thought I could bury it. He stood, needing air, needing space. The diner felt too small, the noise too loud. And now Ethan's looking for me, because you couldn't keep your story straight? He's coming to Austin, Julia said, standing too. Tomorrow. He thinks you're his father. I didn't tell him about Matt. Not yet. Jake's mind spun. A boy he'd never known, a lie he'd lived with for a decade, and now a truth that could upend everything. He walked out, the photo still in his pocket, Julia's voice calling after him. He didn't look back. Not yet. Jake barely slept, the photo of Ethan pinned to his fridge with a magnet, its edges curling like an accusation. He'd spent the night pacing his Austin apartment. The letter from Julia crumpled in his fist. Her confession, that Ethan might be his late cousin Matt's son, not his, burned through every defense he'd built over the past decade. By morning, his coffee was cold, untouched, as he sat at the kitchen table, staring at the words. He's coming to Austin. Tomorrow. Today was tomorrow, and Jake wasn't ready. He drove to the high school, where his soccer team was practicing. The rhythm of drills, shouts, whistles, the thud of balls, usually grounded him, but today it felt distant, like a song he couldn't quite hear. His assistant coach, Mike, noticed his distraction. You good, man? He asked, tossing a ball between his hands. Jake shrugged, forcing a nod. Just family stuff. He didn't elaborate. Mike didn't push. Instead, Jake threw himself into coaching, calling plays, correcting stances, anything to keep his mind off the ticking clock. Ethan was coming. A 14-year-old boy, armed with questions and a truth Jake didn't fully understand himself, was about to walk into his life. By noon, Jake's phone buzzed with a text from Julia. He's on a bus. Arrives at 3 p.m., downtown. Please be there. Jake's stomach twisted. He left practice early, telling Mike he had an errand. The drive to the bus station was a blur, Austin streets packed with Friday traffic. He parked and stood by the terminal, hands shoved in his pockets, scanning every face that stepped off the arriving buses. At 3:07, a lanky kid with a backpack slung over one shoulder emerged, clutching a folded piece of paper. Ethan. Jake knew it instantly. Those green eyes, that half-smile, a mirror of his own teenage years. The boy spotted him, hesitated, then walked over. You're Jake, right? His voice was steady but guarded, like he was bracing for a hit. Yeah, Jake said, throat tight. You're Ethan? The kid nodded, shifting his weight. Mom said you'd be here. Said you knew stuff about my dad. He pulled the paper from his pocket, a printout of an old news article about Jake's coaching, with his photo circled in pen. This is you, isn't it? Jake swallowed hard. Let's get some food. We can talk. He led Ethan to a nearby taco truck, a popular spot where locals lined up. They ordered carne asada for Jake, chicken for Ethan, and sat at a picnic table under a string of lights. Ethan picked at his food, waiting, his eyes searching Jake's for answers. Mom's been weird lately. Ethan started, breaking the silence. Kept saying my dad was complicated. Then I found this. He slid another paper across the table, this one a crumpled obituary from Matt, Jake's cousin, killed in a car crash 14 years ago. This guy, Matt, was he my dad? Jake's heart sank. The kid had done his homework, piecing together fragments Julia had hidden. What did your mom tell you? Jake asked, buying time. Not much, Ethan said, his voice sharp. Just that you knew him, that you might know why she never talks about him. He leaned forward, eyes narrowing. She sent me here to meet you. Why? Jake took a deep breath. He could lie, send Ethan back to Julia with half-truths, but the kid deserved better. Matt was my cousin, he said, voice steady. He died before you were born. Your mom and we were married back then. Things got messy. Ethan's jaw tightened. Messy how? Jake hesitated, the weight of Julia's letter pressing against him. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a small stack of envelopes. Letters Matt had sent him before the crash. Ones Jake had never opened until last night. Matt wrote these, he said, sliding them toward Ethan. They might explain some things, but they're not easy to read. Ethan stared at the letters, his fingers hovering over them. Did you know, he asked, voice low. About me, I mean. Did you know I existed? Jake's chest ached. I thought you were mine, he said. Your mom told me that when she left. I didn't fight it. I should have. Ethan's eyes flashed with anger. So you just gave up? Let her take me away? I didn't know what to believe, Jake said, leaning forward. She had a lawyer, papers, everything to keep me out. I was lost. Ethan stood, grabbing the letters. I need to know who I am, he said, voice breaking. Not what you or mom decided for me. He turned and walked toward the bus station, leaving his tacos untouched. Jake scrambled after him, heart pounding. Ethan, wait. But the kid was fast, weaving through the crowd. By the time Jake reached the terminal, Ethan was gone, swallowed by the bustle of downtown. Jake's phone buzzed. A text from Ethan. Need space. Don't follow me. Panic set in. He called Julia, his voice urgent. He's here, but he ran off. He's got Matt's letters. He's asking questions. Julia's response was frantic. Find him, Jake. He's not answering my calls. He's all I have. Jake hung up, scanning the streets. Ethan was out there, a kid carrying a decade of lies, and Jake had just let him slip away. He drove to the skate park nearby, a hunch based on the stickers on Ethan's backpack. Sure enough, Ethan was there, sitting on a bench, reading one of Matt's letters. Jake approached slowly, hands up like he was calming a spooked animal. I'm not here to drag you back, he said, but you can't just run. Not from this. Ethan looked up, eyes red. This letter, Matt says he loved Mom, that he messed up. Did you know they were together? Jake sat beside him, keeping his distance. Not until yesterday, he said. Your mom told me at the diner. She and Matt, it was before we got married. She didn't tell me until it was too late. Ethan folded the letter, his hands shaking. So I'm his kid, not yours. Maybe, Jake said, but maybe not. There's a test we can take, if you want the truth. Ethan stared at the ground, silent. Then, quietly, what was he like? Matt. Jake exhaled, memories of his cousin flooding back. He was wild, funny, always chasing something bigger than himself. But he wasn't ready for this. He gestured vaguely at Ethan. He didn't know how to stay. Ethan nodded, processing. I want the test, he said finally. But I'm not going back to Mom. Not yet. Jake didn't argue. He offered Ethan a ride to his place, promising no pressure, just a couch to crash on. As they drove, Ethan clutched the letters, and Jake realized this wasn't just about truth. It was about a kid trying to find his place in a story that had been written without him. Jake's apartment felt smaller with Ethan there, sprawled on the couch, his backpack dumped by the door. It was Friday night in Austin, and the hum of the city leaked through the open window, distant horns, a street performer's guitar. Ethan hadn't spoken much since the skate park, just nodded when Jake offered him a soda and a spare blanket. The stack of Matt's letters sat on the coffee table, unopened since Ethan had read the first one. Jake watched him, unsure whether to push or pull back. The kid was a live wire, one wrong move from sparking. By morning, Ethan was up before Jake, sitting cross-legged on the floor, reading another letter. Jake brewed coffee, the machine's gurgle filling the silence. Find anything new? He asked, setting a mug on the table. Ethan didn't look up. Matt wrote about a fight with Mom. Said she wanted to tell you everything, but he wouldn't let her. Thought it'd wreck you. His voice was flat, like he was reading a textbook, not his father's regrets. Jake sat across from him, gripping his own mug. He wasn't wrong. It would've. He paused, choosing his words. But keeping it from me didn't fix anything. Just made a bigger mess. Ethan folded the letter, his fingers precise. I want to know for sure. The test you mentioned. Can we do it today? Jake nodded. Already looked up a clinic nearby, one that did same-day paternity tests for a price. I'll call them. But Ethan, whatever it says, it doesn't change that you're here now. that you got a right to answers. Ethan's eyes met his, searching, then flicked away. Let's just do it. The clinic was a short drive, tucked between a pharmacy and a taqueria on South Congress. The waiting room smelled of antiseptic, and Ethan fidgeted with his phone while Jake filled out forms. The nurse was quick, swabs taken, results promised by evening. As they left, Ethan stopped at the curb. "If you're not my dad, why are you doing this?" he asked, voice sharp. "You don't owe me anything." Jake leaned against his truck, the metal warm from the sun. "Because I know what it's like to be left with questions. I lost Matt, too. And I lost years with you, whether I'm your dad or not. I'm done letting other people's choices take that away." Ethan didn't respond, just climbed in the passenger seat. They drove to a nearby food truck court, grabbing burgers to kill time. Ethan ate slowly, then said, "Mom never talks about her past. It's like she's hiding from it. But I found something else." He pulled a folded photo from his backpack. Not the one Julia sent Jake, but an older one. Matt, grinning, arm around Julia at a lake, both of them young, carefree. This was in her closet. She didn't know I took it. Jake's jaw tightened. The photo was a punch, proof of a life Julia had kept buried. She loved him, he said, more to himself than Ethan. But she married me. I thought that meant something. Ethan shoved the photo back in his bag. It means she lied to both of us. The rest of the day dragged. Jake took Ethan to the high school field, hoping soccer might break the tension. Ethan wasn't a player, but he kicked a ball around, his movements clumsy but determined. Jake coached him lightly, showing him how to trap the ball, and for a moment, they were just two people, not a man and a boy tangled in a decade-old secret. But the clinic's call came at 6 p.m., pulling them back to reality. Results were ready. Back at the clinic, the nurse handed Jake an envelope, her face neutral. Ethan stood beside him, arms crossed, as Jake opened it. The words blurred at first, then sharpened. 99. 9% probability of paternity. Jake was Ethan's father, not Matt. The air left his lungs. He passed the paper to Ethan, who read it, then folded it without a word. "You're my dad," Ethan said finally, voice barely audible. She lied about everything. Jake's mind raced. Julia's letter had hinted at Matt, but the test didn't lie. Why had she pointed to Matt? Was it guilt, fear, or something else? "We need to talk to your mom," he said. "Now." Ethan shook his head. "I'm not ready. I don't even know what to say to her." Jake didn't push. They drove back to the apartment, the silence heavy. That night, Ethan crashed on the couch again, but Jake couldn't sleep. He texted Julia. "Got the test. I'm his father. We need to meet. Tomorrow." Her reply came instantly. "I'm sorry, Jake. I'll explain everything." 10 a.m., same diner. Morning came fast. At the diner, Julia was already there, her coffee untouched. Ethan sat beside Jake, his backpack at his feet, the paternity test tucked inside. Julia's eyes darted between them, nervous. "You got the results," she said, not a question. Jake slid the paper across the table. "He's mine. You knew, didn't you?" Julia's hands trembled as she picked it up. "I wasn't sure," she whispered. "Matt and it was brief before you. When I got pregnant, I thought it was his. I couldn't face telling you I'd been with him. So elite said the baby wasn't yours. It was easier than admitting the truth." Ethan leaned forward, voice cold. "Easier for you. What about me? I grew up thinking my dad didn't want me." Julia flinched, tears welling. "I thought I was protecting you. Both of you." "Protecting?" Jake snapped. "You stole a decade from us. You made me sign away my rights." "I was scared," Julia said, voice breaking. "Matt was dead. I couldn't undo what I'd done. I thought if I kept you out, Ethan would have a clean start." Ethan stood, grabbing his bag. "A clean start? You let me think I was alone." He walked out, the diner door slamming behind him. Jake followed, catching him on the sidewalk. "Don't run again," Jake said, voice firm. "We'll figure this out. Together." Ethan's shoulders slumped. "I don't know how to trust her. Or you." "Then we start small," Jake said. "Stay with me a few days. We'll talk. No more secrets." Ethan nodded, reluctant but willing. Jake glanced back at the diner, where Julia sat, head in her hands. The truth was out, but the cost was climbing. And Jake knew this was only the beginning of what Ethan would demand and deserve. Jake woke to the sound of his phone buzzing on the kitchen counter. It was Sunday morning, 2 days after Ethan's confrontation with Julia at the diner. The boy was still on his couch, his backpack a constant fixture by the door, like a reminder he could leave any moment. Jake checked the message, a text from his assistant coach. Mike, team's asking about you. Practice today? Jake typed a quick reply, saying he'd be there, but might bring a guest. Ethan needed something normal, something to anchor him. Soccer could be that. He found Ethan awake, scrolling on his phone, Matt's letters neatly stacked beside him. You play sports? Jake asked, pouring cereal into 2 bowls. Ethan shook his head. Not really. Tried skateboarding, but I suck at it. He paused, eyeing Jake. Why? Got practice today. Thought you might want to come. No pressure, just watch if you want. Jake slid a bowl across the table. Ethan shrugged, but didn't say no. An hour later, they were at the high school field, the Austin sun already blazing. The team was warming up, their shouts and laughter cutting through the morning air. Ethan sat on the bleachers, his phone abandoned for once, watching as Jake ran drills. One of the players, a kid named Carlos, noticed him. Yo, coach, who's that? He called, nodding toward Ethan. My friend, Jake said, the word feeling inadequate. He's checking out the team. Carlos jogged over, tossing Ethan a spare ball. Want to kick it around? Ethan hesitated, then stood, following Carlos to the sideline. Jake watched as the kid, awkward at first, started passing the ball, his movements tentative but improving with Carlos's encouragement. For a moment, Jake saw a spark in Ethan, something other than anger or confusion. It was small, but was there. After practice, Jake's phone rang. Julia. He stepped away, answering quietly. What's up? I need to see him, she said, voice strained. He's not answering me. Is he okay? He's with me, Jake said. He's not ready to talk to you. Give him time. He's my son, Jake. Her tone sharpened. You can't keep him from me. You kept him from me for 10 years. Jake shot back, keeping his voice low so Ethan wouldn't hear. He's figuring things out. Push him now, and you'll lose him for good. Julia went silent, then hung up. Jake pocketed his phone, his gut churning. He knew she was hurting, but so was Ethan. So was he. When he returned to the field, Ethan was still kicking the ball with Carlos, a faint smile breaking through. Jake didn't interrupt. Instead, he started packing up equipment, his mind racing. Ethan needed stability, but Julia's desperation could unravel everything. That evening, back at the apartment, Ethan was quieter, the spark from practice fading. He sat on the couch, holding the paternity test results. What happens now? He asked, not looking at Jake. You're my dad, but what does that even mean? Jake sat across from him, choosing his words carefully. It means we figure it out together. I'm not going anywhere. You want to stay here? You can. You want to go back to your mom? That's your call. But I want to be part of your life, if you'll let me. Ethan nodded slowly, then pulled something from his backpack, a notebook, pages filled with messy handwriting. I started writing stuff down, he said. Things I found online about you. About Matt. I want to know who I came from. He flipped to a page with a printed article about Matt's crash, annotated with Ethan's notes. This says he was drunk. Was he? Jake's throat tightened. He'd avoided that truth for years. Yeah, he said. Matt had his demons. He wasn't a bad guy, just lost. That night, he made a bad choice. Ethan closed the notebook. Mom never told me that. She made him sound like some hero who just disappeared. She was trying to protect you, Jake said, though the words felt hollow. But she was wrong to hide it. Ethan's phone buzzed, breaking the moment. He glanced at it, then froze. It's her, he said. She's outside. Jake's heart sank. He hadn't expected Julia to show up unannounced. You want to see her? He asked. Ethan shook his head, but his eyes said otherwise. Fear, anger, and something softer like longing. Jake opened the door. Julia stood there, clutching her keys, her posture tense. I couldn't wait, she said, stepping inside before Jake could respond. Ethan, please. I need to explain. Ethan stood, gripping his notebook. You had 10 years to explain, he said, voice shaking. Why now? Julia's hands dropped to her sides. Because I was wrong. I thought keeping you from Jake, from Matt's truth, would make things easier. But it didn't. I am sorry. Sorry doesn't fix it, Ethan snapped. You let me think I was nobody's kid. Jake stepped between them, voice calm but firm. This isn't helping. Ethan, you don't have to decide anything tonight. Julia, you need to give him space. Julia's eyes welled up. I'm losing him, Jake. I can't. Then stop pushing, Jake said. He's not a kid you can control anymore. Ethan grabbed his backpack, heading for the door. I'm going for a walk, he said. Don't follow me. Jake caught his arm gently. Not alone. Not after last time. I'll come with you. Or you stay here. Your choice. Ethan pulled away but didn't leave. He dropped his bag and sat back on the couch, silent. Julia lingered, unsure, then left without another word, her keys jangling as she went. The air in the room felt heavy, like the moment before a storm. Jake sat beside Ethan, not speaking, just waiting. Finally, Ethan broke the silence. I want to know everything about Matt. Not just the crash. Who he was. Jake nodded. He reached for his laptop, pulling up old photos from a family reunion, ones he hadn't looked at in years. Matt, laughing, tossing a football. Matt, teaching Jake to change a tire. He was reckless, Jake said, but he cared about people. He'd have been proud of you, even if he wasn't ready to be a dad. Ethan stared at the screen, absorbing every detail. What about you? He asked. Are you ready? Jake met his gaze. I'm trying to be. That's all I've got right now. Ethan didn't reply, but he stayed, the laptop's glow lighting his face. Jake knew this wasn't resolution. It was a fragile truce. Ethan was still searching, and Julia's mistakes were still unraveling. But for now, they were here, together, and that was more than Jake had dared hope for. Monday morning broke over Austin, the sky clear and sharp. Jake stood at the high school field, cones set out for soccer practice, but his focus was on Ethan, who'd spent the weekend on his couch. The boy was quieter now, less volatile, but still carrying his notebook like a shield. Jake had given him space, letting him process the photos of Matt and the weight of Julia's unannounced visit. Today, though, Jake had a plan, not to fix everything, but to give Ethan something to hold on to. At breakfast, Jake slid a flyer across the kitchen table. Tryouts for the junior varsity team are this week, he said, pouring orange juice. You were decent with Carlos yesterday. Want to give it a shot? Ethan glanced at the flyer, skeptical. I'm not good enough. I barely know how to kick. You don't have to be good, Jake said. Just show up. The team's about effort, not perfection. He paused, meeting Ethan's eyes. It could be a start. Something that's yours. Ethan pushed the flyer back, but didn't say no. By afternoon, he was at the field, standing awkwardly with a borrowed pair of cleats. Jake kept practice light, pairing Ethan with Carlos for passing drills. The other players welcomed him, their banter easing the tension. Ethan missed more shots than he made, but he kept going, his focus sharpening with each attempt. Jake watched, a quiet pride stirring. This wasn't just soccer. It was Ethan choosing to stay to try. That evening, Jake's phone lit up with a voicemail from a number he didn't recognize. It was a lawyer representing Julia. She's prepared to amend the custody agreement, the voice said, clipped and professional. She acknowledges you as Ethan's father and wants to discuss terms. Please call to schedule a meeting. Jake saved the message, his mind racing. Julia was stepping back, but why? Guilt? Pressure from Ethan? Or something else? He showed Ethan the voicemail. Your mom's lawyer called. She's ready to make things right, legally. You okay with that? Ethan's jaw tightened. She's just trying to clean up her mess. I don't trust it. You don't have to, Jake said. But if we do this, it means you get a say. Where you live, who you're with. I'll back you, whatever you decide. Ethan nodded, his fingers tapping the notebook. I want to stay here, at least for now, but I need to talk to her, face to face. Jake arranged the meeting for the next day, a neutral spot, a coffee shop near Zilker Park. When they arrived, Julia was already there, seated at an outdoor table, her hands wrapped around a paper cup. Ethan sat across from her, Jake beside him. The air was thick with unspoken history, but Jake let Ethan lead. Why'd you do it? Ethan asked, voice steady but cold. Why'd you lie about Jake? About Matt? Julia's hand shook as she set the cup down. I was young, Ethan. Scared. Matt was gone, and I didn't know how to tell Jake I'd betrayed him. I thought if I cut him out, you'd have a simpler life. No fights, no confusión. I was wrong. Ethan leaned forward. You didn't just lie to him. You lied to me. I grew up thinking my dad didn't care. Now I know he didn't even get a chance. Julia's eyes glistened, but she didn't look away. I know, and I'll carry that forever. But I'm here now, trying to fix it. I've told my lawyer to give Jake full parental rights, if that's what you both want. I don't want to lose you. Ethan's voice softened, just a fraction. I'm not ready to forgive you, but I don't want you gone either. I just need time. Jake stayed silent, letting the moment unfold. Julia nodded, wiping her eyes. I'll wait, she said, as long as it takes. The meeting ended with an agreement. Ethan would stay with Jake through the school year, with Julia having regular visits. She'd start therapy, something her lawyer had suggested to address the years of secrecy. Ethan didn't commit to anything beyond staying in touch, but it was enough for now. Back at the apartment, Ethan joined Jake for a team barbecue, the same one where this all began. The players welcomed him, Carlos tossing him a soda and joking about his killer passes of practice. Ethan laughed, a real laugh, the kind Jake hadn't heard before. After the kids left, Ethan lingered by the grill, helping Jake clean up. "I made the team," he said, almost shy. "Coach Mike texted me." Jake grinned. "Told you. Effort beats talent every time." Ethan hesitated, then said, "I read the last of Matt's letters. He said he hoped I'd find someone like you, someone who'd stick around." He looked at Jake, eyes clear. "I think he'd be okay with this." Jake's throat tightened. "I think so too." The next week, Jake met with the lawyer. Julia had followed through, signing papers that restored his rights as Ethan's father. She faced a fine for falsifying documents years ago, a consequence that felt small compared to the damage, but necessary for accountability. Ethan started school, joining the soccer team officially, his name on the roster next to Jake's as assistant coach. They didn't talk about Matt or Julia every day, but when they did, it was honest, no secrets left to fester. One evening, as they kicked a ball around the backyard, Ethan stopped, catching his breath. "Thanks," he said, the words simple but heavy. "For not giving up." Jake tossed the ball back. "Never will." The past wasn't erased, but it wasn't a chain anymore. Ethan was building something new, and Jake was part of it. Not just as a father, but as someone who'd learned to fight for what mattered.